Hello and welcome to Flosstube number 21. I'm Naomi and this is my channel, Belle Stitches Pirates. It is a channel that is becoming more and more mixed. It's started out as pretty much 100% cross stitch. I still do cross stitch the majority of my days, but I have picked up diamond painting, so the last several little videos have been compilations of a couple of diamond painting projects that I've been working on. But I am trying to keep the diamond painting as its own thing and cross stitch and possibly miscellaneous on the floss tubes, so that the diamond painting doesn't completely take it over. So the last time we met was early to mid-September, about a month ago. I didn't do much stitching in August. But then in early September, I did get a chance to finish a piece, and then I got a call for 1 week of cats. So between August and September, I managed to be working full-time in the theater for 4 weeks out of 8-9 weeks. It is election season for our union, and nominations were the beginning of October, and I threw my hat in the ring for the business agent position, which is a full-time job. We had somebody else run, so I do have to be elected by the rest of the membership to get the job. But that election results should be in December, and I would start the position in January. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, what have I worked on in September? September was monthly magazine, Facebook groups, AB Singo. So they do a bingo board and they give you 24 out of the 25 letters of the alphabet. Or no, sorry, 25 out of the 26. 5 by 5, 25 out of 26. So there's one letter that they don't give you. And this year, if memory serves, it was H. And you have to figure out a prompt. So this one, you do 100 stitches or 1 hour a day. You take pictures showing your daily progress on your piece, and you have to declare your pieces and your prompt for the letter before it's before the month starts. So I put together my board. I didn't get started right off. But for this one, I did 4 days, something like that. And I worked on this boat. I don't know if it's a boat pot. It's got birds and whatnot. So I did some of the bird. I think I just had this top little bit of the pot done. I think I did about 400, a little more than 400 stitches. I used this as a prompt for a couple of the trickier ones like X. I didn't have anything that I really could come up with an X for, but there's an X. It's got an alphabet. So I could have used this for every single one because it's got every letter of the alphabet. So I put a little bit of work into it. Obviously not a whole lot, but a couple of days. And then the next piece that I worked on was, let me put the white behind it. This one. And this is the Brooks Books Spirit of America Angel. And when I started working, when I picked it back up, I had some of her petticoat done. I had all but these corner dark red bits of the stripes done. And I had a good portion of her overskirt done. But I did not have any of the beads, any of the Krynic, and her face was significantly lacking in definition. There are tons and tons of threads in this face. Made worse by the fact that I managed to miss a couple of stitches. I had a couple of ninja stitches. So, tucking tails, this poor baby, there is a ton of floss in that face. Just trying to tuck tails. But she's really pretty. And then to make her an angel, she has these wings. And then, so these stars, which are hard to see because they're just beads, let me see if, so I don't know if you can see now. You'll have to wait until I cut it out. So the next time you see her will probably be finished. And then I worked on Poltergeist Pirates. And this one I only worked on a couple of days. I had it for like P for pirate. Might have had it for S for skeleton or something. M for moon or yellow. A Y for yellow because the moon is yellow. I had 3 or so days on it. And basically all I got done was I got this whole mask done. And how I did this too, because I've been working on the bulk of the ship, is when I put it in my on my lap stand, I put it on upside down. So because I had it done to like right here, and roughly in there was where I had finished stitching the last time, because my Q-snap was on the bottom section. So I stitched to where my Q-snap would fit, and then but I didn't want to count up to the top of the pole or the mast and try to figure it out that way, my placing. So to get my tension to still kind of have the same, the same effect, I find that if I stitch from the bottom up, while I can do it and keep my stitches still laying flat or laying the same directions, I end up having stitches that just look funny. I don't know, something about the way I tug. And I do have a fairly tight tension. So something about my tension, if I'm trying to stitch up, it doesn't cooperate. But I discovered, kind of by accident, that if I turn my design 180 degrees, and this is where working off of a paper pattern is helpful, because I could also flip the paper pattern upside down so that everything's going the right directions. I'm not trying to reverse engineer it. I can still stitch the same exact way, and my stitches lie the same direction as the other way. So if you're looking at this really closely, this section, which was stitched going this direction, and this section, which was stitched going this direction, are exactly the same way. You couldn't tell the difference. The top leg ends up going the same direction. So that's just something that I've discovered. But for a piece like that where, yeah, I've got to put in a bunch of sails, and now that I've got the basics of the mast in, I can go back to the top of the mast and work my way back, work my way down. But prior to that, I could have stitched a heck of a lot and discovered I was off. And that's not a piece you want to be off on. Another piece that I worked on for AB Singo is my Chatelaine Polar Beauty Mandala. And for this piece, I'm doing the center block, the challenge version, 1/1. And I'm also slowly converting it to more or less Royal Rose. So being 1/1, Royal Rose, you do a 10x20 block or tower. And for this piece, the way that they did the chart for the 1/1 is they basically just made every square 4, 2x2. So your darkened grid lines are really 20 wide. They're not 10 wide. Which means if you do 1 block wide and 2 blocks tall, you're really doing 20x40, which is what I'm doing. Because trying to figure out where 10 stops, 20 is no problem because it would just be the height of 1 block, but to cut the block in half was just, no way. And I put a picture in, but I had kind of that done. So I basically reached, this is around the center point. And that's this basting is the center. So I'm about 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm about 1/8 of the way finished with the center piece. I've got a long way to go, but I'm really enjoying the play of the night sky and how it all works. So that piece is really coming along. It's it's coming along a lot better now that I took the pattern and I exploded it in PDF and then printed it on 11 by 17 paper, as big as I could get it. So I zoomed way in on it. So it's going a lot better since then because I can mark things off. I'm not squinting at the pattern trying to determine which of 3 similar symbols it is. So I am personally liking it much better since I did that. And yes, I think about $10 all told once I was done, because I printed it. So the center block in the pattern, you have the original, which is pretty clear, you know, especially if you have it on a digital device and can blow it up. But then the over 1 section is on the bottom half. So an 8.5 sheet of paper, this piece that's like 110 by 110, something like that, is about 4 inches max. There's no way to read that. And if you expand it, it's still muddy on your digital device. You just can't blow it up. You reach the max capacity of the zoom function in PDF. So I took the page, I cropped out just the pattern section that I wanted, and then I made 4 copies of that page, and I cropped it so that I had my top quadrant, you know, top left quadrant, top right quadrant, bottom left, bottom right, with a little bit of overlap. So I could get my bearings when I switched from one page to the next. And basically took the pattern and made it into 4 pages. And then when I sent it to Office Depot to print, I told them I want it on 11 by 17 paper and to make it fit the paper. Print it as big as will fit on the paper. So I had really wide margins on the side because it's a square, but it fit, and it was crystal clear and beautiful, and I think I did about 800 stitches on that. So I got a lot of work into it. And then I worked the rest of the time on Tropical Treasures. And I made a decision that I wanted to finish whatever page this is. So I'm parking my threads here, which this is the bottom of the page. And then the page ends like right in here. So what I did is I did every 2 rows, I started the next diagonal. So this diagonal I'll come in and finish when I start the next page. So I'm probably doing a teeny bit more than the page, but I'm almost done. I've got this diagonal to finish, well, this little bit of this diagonal to finish, and then one more little corner here, and the page will be done. And then I'm going to put this one away for a while. I haven't decided what I'm going to work on, but it might actually be Poltergeist Pirates. My husband's birthday's in November, and he'd be pretty stoked if I showed it, you know, gave him Poltergeist Pirates. Don't know if it'll happen, because I still got a good chunk of the ship to do. I'd say I'm 2/3 of the way done with the ship. the actual body of the ship. But I still have a lot of sails to do, and those, they're not crazy hard because the colors are more or less gradient, but there's a lot of counting and a lot of being careful that your threads, because there's no stitching around it, I'm being very careful to make sure that I'm carrying my thread in such a way that I'm minimizing carries of white or cream or light gray, you know, a light colored thread along the back of a blank area, an unstitched area. I've done one of the masts already at the very front of the ship and all of its sails. I also have been back stitching as I go along. So I'd say of the area that I have finished, probably 2/3 or over half of that is back stitched. So if I buckled down and really trotted through it, I probably could finish it by his birthday, which is what, 3 weeks away? It's Veterans Day. Yeah, probably 3 weeks away. The downside to that plan is I am working full-time covering our paralegal's vacation until November 2nd. So I basically will have 8 days before his birthday to finish it. So we'll see. I may or may not get it done. Should be able, if I buckle down, I definitely will be able to get it done for Christmas and finished, framed, which would be good. So that's what I accomplished in September and the first bit of October. I didn't think it was that much, but it was a lot more than I thought when I started going through my notes and pulling out projects and remembering, oh yes, I did AB Singo, and that involved 5-6 projects. It's pretty impressive. At least I'm impressed with myself. I am going to insert a previous video that I sat down and filmed, which is my Needlework Expo haul. Because some of my most recent haul, including today, might not make sense if you didn't see that. I think my shirt color changes. So I'm going to insert that here, and then I'll be back with the rest of my haul. I've got decisions to make when it comes to plans for 2023, plans for the next month. Some of it's depending on some other things or other persons. So my plans for the rest of this month are to finish the page on Tropical Treasures, to pick another, once I reach that goal, get another focus piece. and that will most likely be Poltergeist Pirates, with a goal to try to finish it before my husband's birthday. Then the rest of November and all of December will really depend on theater, what shows I get booked for. We have a couple of shows that start the middle of November and go all the way to the new year. That's 6 days a week. Yeah, I'd be doing good to get stitching in on Monday. Then for 2023, because I'm already, thinking about that, some of that's contingent on whether I am working in theater, whether I am the new business agent, so taking over the job from the old business agent, getting up to speed on where things are, what's outstanding, all of that. Like, it's going to be a rough first quarter. But I know I can do it. It just means I probably won't have much time for anything. And so, dealing with that requires a whole different set of plans than if I'm working theater, because January, even as far as June, July, the first 6-7 months of the year can be fairly quiet. The bulk of our work prior to the pandemic was September, October, November, December. You got some work in October, August. You always had work in October. August, sometimes there was a couple of shows that came in for a week or so. July sometimes had 1 or 2 shows, but it was fairly quiet. Smaller shows came in during January through April, May, and so you would end up with 1, 2, 3 days of work here, a week of work there. There were some months I worked less than a week in number of days. So I always concentrated my personal priorities, travel, anything like that, in those early part of the year months, because those were the months that I was less likely to be busy working. It was also the months where I was recuperating from working for 4 months straight with almost no breaks. So, give and take, ebb and flow, which is great. It works, but on the flip side, I have a lot more stitching time if I'm not the business agent than I will if I'm the business agent, but I won't know that until after the beginning of December when the election results are in. It affects my plans a little bit. The other thing that affects my plans a bit is no new starts. They're changing it to be called Stitching Warriors. And they're going to have several much like this year, they had several different stitching streams. They're going to have them. They haven't released their information video yet. They're going to do it in November. They've hinted that there's a couple of things, one of which is called Project X. And I can't decide if that's 10 projects or you pick one and you finish it. It's intriguing to me if it's 10 projects, because I liked 23 or 22 and 22 because it gave me just enough variety, but it helped me narrow down. So instead of 5 of one designer, which I literally do have 5 of one designer, I picked one of his pieces and the others went into timeout, if you will. It got boxed up in a tote bin and put in the closet. And that's where they have been since last December, when I made the decision that this is the one that's going in, with the understanding that if I had finished that piece, which I don't think I will, that I would end up doing another one of his. And there's my husband, so I gotta go. Bye. When I arrived today at Happy Mail, otherwise known as Expo, and Gary taped it well. And the patterns are even in another. I mean, this is well packaged. My apologies for the sniffles. So this is number 10 in A Year in the Woods. It's called The Little Brown Bat. So there's 2 more left in the year. Then for Expo, I got Probably Haunted. It says, if one door closes and another door opens, your house is probably haunted. I'm not a huge fan of Halloween, but that's just cute, and that is something I would put up. This one reminded me a lot of the women in the community rallying around a new mother. This says 3 wise women brought nappies, formula, and casseroles, then stayed for babysitting, tea, and laundry. The community of women that I grew up around didn't necessarily do all of that, but the casseroles in particular were a very big thing. Then I got Finishing Made Easy, All the Basics. This is a Sue Hillis book that came out for Expo. I got the Wheel of the Year. And I am a big fan of everything Celtic. So this really felt Celtic to me. I'm also a fan of an impossible challenge. Well, maybe not impossible. This is called Quaker Spring Ball. And it's along the premise of a biscornu in that you have multiple pieces. A biscornu, you have two pieces that you stitch together. Might be better to say it's more in the shape of a mattress design that has sides and a top and or a bottom. But this is a ball. So just from this picture, I would say there's probably 15 or 20 different pieces that you have to stitch together. You stitch, and then you stitch those pieces together to form the ball. And like I said, it's a challenge, but I liked it. The timing on this was rather ironic. This is the Platinum Jubilee design by the Primitive Hare. And I got it, or I put in my order for it, and I think it was a short time later Queen Elizabeth passed, something like that. Another one that's a slight challenge, at least in terms of finishing. This is called Hoot and a Boot. Looks like you make the owl, attach it to a boot stocking. Halloween vibe, but the owl part really attracted me. Pardon the plastic noise while I take this one out. Because this one is Hello Halloween. And it's first going to have this big giant design. Then it's also let's see if there's pictures of the other ones. So there's Spooky, there's the cat, Black Cat Broom Company, and then Onward Black Kitty. That just looks like every toddler under the sun that has a wagon and a pet. This one's called The Good Witch. And this one is called The Prim Witch, and it's stitched on two different fabrics to show like how it looks on different color schematics. This was what got me to buy the book, The Vintage Cats. I saw those and thought they were just the most adorable things on the planet. This one says pumpkins fat and witches lean, coal black cats with eyes of green, all the mystery can be seen on the night of Halloween. So fun saying, black cat and a pumpkin and a witch and ghosts. This one, there we go. We have Hello Moon and Witchy Stardust. So that's Hello Halloween. A lot of patterns in this one decent sized book. And then this is not Expo, but I saw Ronnie from Garon Stitchery's version of this and have been eyeballing it ever since. And it's Family of Birds. And I just love the juxtaposition of how the birds and the fact that this can play with your mind. It looks like there's a face there, but when you then look at it closer, no, it's birds flying to their nest in the tree. It's just totally cool. And this is the fabric I picked out for it, but I'm looking at it and it's more orange than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be peachy. So we'll see. I'll probably have to go digging in my fabric. And then I also got some ivy from Fiber on the Wing. So that was mostly Expo haul with a little bit of extra. I also got, because I didn't already jump on the bandwagon, I've been eyeballing it. I got the currently available patterns for A Year in the Woods. So I've got the fox, the swans, the jackrabbit, the raccoon, the ferret, the bald eagle, the barn owl, he is so pretty, the woodpecker, and the bear. And then I have the next one in the series as well in my Expo order. And then for that order, the last thing I got was La Belle Époque. I probably just butchered that. My sister's going to France soon, and I'm going to give this to her as something that she can stitch to help kind of memorialize her trip. Then in one of my groups, we had some raffles and I won the raffle. And that also came today. So the raffle was this baby Afghan cloth, and I've been looking at getting one. So to win the raffle was rather cool. I have a bunch of ABC patterns that I've been tossing around in my head what to do, like how to stitch them. And I'll have to take a look to see if they'll fit on here in the spaces that are available and if there's enough for 26 letters. But the thought is that I'll do an alphabet motif on a blanket. And then also got tossed in was some thread cards, which is cool. So in addition to Needlework Expo, I placed an order with European Cross Stitch for the beads for Polar Beauty Mandala. And I have to say that her packaging is really, really good. I'm impressed. I purchased, which you saw in the video about Expo, was, and this is not from the most recent Expo market, it's been out, but it was something that I had seen Ronnie from Garon Stitchery working on and was like, eh. And then I saw it finished and was like, that is totally cool. I love the fact that you can look at it and you can see two completely different images in it. So it's like, okay, they don't have, it calls for lavender mist for the fabric. They don't have that in stock, plus it's not, I wasn't seeing that it was available in 40 count, and I decided I wanted it on 40 count. So I went looking, and what I had ordered with the pattern was this one. And in person, it is orange sherbet. It's called Amber. Amber's like a golden yellow color. This is very orange sherbet. So when next time, yeah, I got this and I'm just like, oh, that's not the right color. It's so not the right color. So I went on 123 Stitch and went through their 40 counts and came out with blush and dusty pink as my options. So my next step is to pull the DMCs and determine which one I think works best. If I'm trying to make it kind of a representation of me, the blush is probably more accurate just because I'm so fair. But I also do like this dusky pink for a more rosy background. So put the, I have to start working on pulling the flosses. Then, since I was placing an order, I decided, I saw that the 11th of the 12 was out on 123 Stitch, so I grabbed the beaver, and his whole body is just awesome, but that tail, something else. I like that this design that's on it. It's just, I can't decide if it's tribal or not, but it kind of gives me that geometric motif that you see on a lot of American Indian traditional ceremonial dresses. Their beadwork. It just kind of reminds me of their beadwork. So one more pattern, I'll have the whole set, and then I've got to start thinking about what I want to do for fabrics. I just saw a picture of somebody's fabric. It's an Afghan fabric with acorns around each of, woven into it around each of the squares. And I thought that's really pretty, because my other thought was to do them on individual pieces of fabric and then look for fabric that's kind of with the season, you know, pulling from that season, and pulling from the piece. So like this one is very fall. So, you know, finding a fabric that's got that fall effect and making quilt blocks out of it to make a quilt top was the one thought that I had. But then I saw the Afghan with the acorns and I thought that is perfect. It's not the easiest thing to find. So I have to see what I can do. In the meantime, I went ahead and picked up the Weeks and Gentle Art floss that is in the patterns. So this one has 2 Weeks dye works with an alternate DMC, and then it has 9 additional DMCs. So for this, only 2 of them are for the beaver. There were a couple of the flosses that 1-2-3 Stitch did not have, and aside from a couple that were in multiple patterns, I only got 1 skein, because I haven't really sat down with the patterns to figure out, oh, this one has a bunch. But like Cole was in, I think 3 of them. So I got 2 skeins. And then we got Charlotte's Pink. Carrot. Hazelnut. Saffron. Charcoal. Pelican Gray. I got 2 of the molasses. I was in several of them. I got 2 Havana. Mocha. Pelican. Driftwood. Graphite. And then burnt orange and chalk. And chalk was in several of them, but I'm pretty sure I have like 2 skeins from something else, so I went ahead and just got 1. Worst comes to worst, I have to get another skein. But since they're small, most of them, I mean, even on this, charcoal has an asterisk. 40 count, you need about 1 skein. 2/2 on 32 count, you need 2 skeins. And that's because you double the strands and you're working on bigger squares. So you're going to use a lot more. So that was my fabrics can't travel together, so I'm gonna throw in a pattern. And then I got my Silks for You October silk. And this one, or sorry, no, this is September. I just paid for October. That's why October's on my mind. So September, and those are really variegated. Some of the other months have been fairly solid, but these are quite variegated, which is cool. Figure out where to put it, where to substitute them into things. So that's my haul. The next box is Black Needle Society. And this is their nothing but cross stitch box. So let's see. Something that rolls around. So this is a to be stitched jar that goes with to be stitched papers. And it says, having trouble deciding which project to pick up next, use this to be stitched jar and papers to randomly select your next project. Use it for new starts or your current works in progress or a mixture. Fill out the slips of paper with your project information, fold them up, and then mix up your selection. They almost go inside. I'm gonna probably regret putting them in there, but. So that's that. Try to get it in the. And we have the specialty floss. Which is Classic Colorworks. We have pine needles, honeycomb, and roasted chestnuts. Nice fall colors. Have a needle minder. That's a little scissor. And the Snip Snap needle minder was designed by the Needle the Black Needle Society. And we have a very tiny stork scissor. The black mini stork scissors were made by Kelmscott Designs. A sticker, cross stitch is my therapy. And that's designed by Kitster Kronk. Butter Crunch fabric. .32 count even weave. It is way more, that is showing up kind of green. Let's see if this makes it better. Oh yeah, much better. So it's really butter color, a lot more yellow. There's probably some green tones to it, but. And that was, see the fabric, dyed by Needle Bling Designs. Oh, it says it right on the fabric. Those are labels that go with this. It's called a Best Needlework Scissors Bitsy Keep, made by That's So Kelly. Use this Bitsy Keep to store threads for your next project. While stitching, you can use the fabric area to keep your floss from floating away. Not to mention that Kelly has hidden a little magnet underneath her logo. So there's a magnet, yep, underneath here. There's a little magnet. I can just feel it right in there. You can feel where it's a little more firm than the rest of the logo to put your needles on. And then this is a package of little circular numbers so that you can number the holes in whatever manner you like. And then last but not least, this is Mama Witch Cross Stitch, My Guilty Pleasure. And let's get the light off of it. He just looks so mischievous. There we go. It's $145 by $116. Recommended on Black Ada. He uses $14 colors. So that's the Black Needle Society box for September. And it is my understanding that they may have a very few available in their overflow stock. Up next, it says, is their Retreat in a Box Cozy Kitchen Stitching is their next box that's for sale. And it looks like that's for January. So if you are interested in Black Needle Society, first thing you should do is get on their waiting list. It can take a while to get off the waiting list and actually be able to access boxes. But what that does do is either at the same time as going on the waiting list or in conjunction with going on the waiting list. I don't remember if you can sign up for the newsletter at the same time as going on the wait list. But if you sign up for the newsletter, they'll give you a heads up if there's boxes going on sale that they have extras of. The retreat in a box are different than their subscription boxes. So this one, I believe, was no, it says it's a retreat in a box. It says this one was a retreat in a box. So they have every 2 months is their subscription box, which is also a theme. And those you have to be on the waiting list, or you have to be on the subscriber list, an active subscriber, to get them. And then the alternating months, they post a retreat in a box with a theme, and those, if you're a current subscriber, you get an early release opportunity to purchase it, and then it is open to the rest of the newsletter subscribers. You still have to be on the ball to usually get it, even with that, but it is one way to start getting some boxes. And the boxes are released about 4 months out. So as I said, the January retreat in a box is currently the one that they are taking orders for, Cozy Kitchen, and they started taking orders for that this month, if I remember correctly. And it goes until they sell out, and once they sell out, then there might be a few that get canceled for some reason, or they have extra supplies, and are able to make a few extra boxes, and they'll put those on sale once the box is delivered. So check out their website.